Well, after a pretty long build-up and a big wait for this new iteration of the DC universe, we have finally gotten that introduction with James Gunn's Superman, a hotly anticipated movie, one that I was pretty curious to see. As a huge fan of DC and all of its characters, I was mildly excited for this movie. So does it manage to live up to its pretty insane hype? Let's get into it.
They chose him. Let them die.
I'm going to try and be as fair as I can be towards this movie and really get any bias out of the way for this one. I genuinely love Superman as a character and all of DC's character. I really love and understand so much about what Clark Kent / Superman represents to so many people. And James Gunn going for this lighter tone and being more in line with Christopher Reeve's interpretation of that character, I was quite on board with this and seeing where it was going to go all in all and being able to set up something as ambitious as a whole new DC universe. Unfortunately, I don't think this movie lives up to its hype at all, and I'm going to go into why I think that is and why I'm probably going to get spammed with dislikes on this video. But there are some good things to take away from this movie that hopefully can be brought forward in another Superman movie or any of these future DC releases. Firstly, I think the strongest aspect of this movie is when it goes all in on what Clark Kent / Superman represents. And I think that mainly happens in the third act. There's a lot of hope in here, and when it goes all in on hope, it is incredible. And the way that Superman just captures humanity and what that represents so well. I think there is a wonderful mini monologue from David Corenswet's Superman to Lex Luthor about this in the third act of this movie. And it works wonders, and I think it's one of the best moments of the movie. And I felt like in that moment, James Gunn really understood Superman, and that was wonderful. I absolutely loved that moment. I think there are one or two side characters that work to the benefit of the film. I think Crypto the dog is one of them. I really wasn't expecting to see this character appear in a live-action Superman movie, but we got it, and I quite liked it. And I liked a lot of the humor associated with the character, with Superman trying his best to train him, but he's not really listening. If you're a dog owner, that frustration is so part of that experience and is just something that makes it feel so real and makes you love that dog even more because it just feels so perfectly imperfect. And I think that was wonderful. I think a lot of the scenes with Crypto in it were pretty cool, and I really like seeing that dog appear on screen. I mean, it would be amazing if they somehow got a real dog and trained it to do some pretty cool stuff, but we obviously can't do that. So the CGI is obviously a good way of meeting in the middle with it. And I think the CGI is quite good on the dog as a whole. I think the strongest parts of the CGI are around Crypto. I also think a side character like Mr. Terrific worked so well to the benefit of the movie. I think a lot of the scenes featuring this character were pretty great. I think this is where the humor is at its strongest, and I think a lot of the combat is at its strongest. There's a really great needle drop mixed with this one-take combat sequence where the camera is swiveling around, and I thought that was pretty badass, to be honest with you, and that was once again another standout moment in this movie. Alongside all that, I think Lex Luthor is pretty great. I think Nicholas Hoult does a great job of playing what Lex Luthor should be as this very intelligent supervillain. He's less of that crazy, whimsical, wannabe Joker thing that Jesse Eisenberg was going for in Batman vs. Superman. This feels more in line with what Lex Luthor should be, and I quite liked what Nicholas Hoult brought to the character. While I am quite mixed on David Corenswet as Superman, and I don't think that he is the best portrayal of this character by any means, I think there could be a lot worse, and I think he does do a good job here and there, especially that mini monologue that I mentioned earlier, where I can really buy into him as this character, and I think, all in all, I think he was a decent Superman. Not the greatest, but not the worst by any means. I think he did a good enough job. Then just on some technical craft notes, I think the score is pretty good. It does this strange remix of John Williams' iconic score, and I do think it works to the benefit of the movie. I think the score is one of my favorites of the year. That uplifting Superman score, when that hits in the theater, it feels amazing and so uplifting, and once again captures so much about what Superman is supposed to be. And as mentioned before, when this movie goes all in on Superman and what he represents, that's when this film is flying. There is a scene, for example, where a civil war is about to start and a kid lifts up a flag that has the Superman logo on it. And that was such a great moment. That power that Superman has of giving people something to hope for as this ultimate sign of good is something that shows ultimately why Superman is such a beloved character by so many people. But I don't feel like this movie goes in on that all the time. There are so many plot holes and undercooked ideas that is honestly baffling. And unfortunately, I came away from this movie really disliking a lot of it. I came away feeling a little bit angry at it, but I wanted to share some positives with you in just the spirit of being fair and just trying to do my best to find things in this that I liked, because I wanted to love this movie a lot more than I did. James Gunn said in the lead up to the Flash movie that it was one of the best superheroes ever made, and I thought it was just complete bullshit after I had seen The Flash and what that movie ultimately became. If you watch this channel or know me, you know I hate The Flash. I just don't like that movie at all, and the more I think about it, the more I hate it. I cannot stand that movie. And I was so baffled by all of these celebrities coming to its defense and saying it is one of the best movies ever and it was this god tier superhero movie when it just wasn't. And James Gunn was one of those people, and I was a little bit baffled as to why he said that until I saw this movie, because tonally this film feels very similar to that, and that tone I utterly reject. I do not like it at all. I think it just becomes a joke and a parody of itself, and it takes superhero movies to a place where they weren't taken as seriously and weren't really all that enjoyable, if I'm being honest with you. And because it's tonally like that, and in a way where I just completely reject it, it does not work for me at all, and I completely know that, and I'm comfortable with that. There were so many scenes that I just was not enjoying in this movie. I think the movie fails at so many key things that this needs to succeed at in order for it to work. And honestly, because of all that, it makes me very skeptical about the future of this DC universe. Starting with the portrayal of Lois and Clark, one of the most iconic relationships in really any fiction. I fail to understand why these two love each other in the first place, because for a lot of this film it felt like a very one-sided relationship, as Lois Lane is this very shrewd individual which works well as her profession as a reporter. She's clearly competent in her job in this movie, and I think her working alongside Jimmy Olsen had some great moments. But in terms of the relationship with Clark Kent, she's mostly berating him and criticizing him all the time. I didn't feel any spark or any romance or any love or supportiveness at all until really near the end of this movie, and I wanted more of that. And because of that, because I felt no chemistry at all between these characters, I'm like, how are they in love? Why is this relationship even a thing in it if there's just nothing there? It felt like the relationship was ultimately carried by Clark's innate sense of seeing good in every single individual. And that's not what a relationship is. That's toxicity at its finest. And I just don't think that worked well at all in this movie. I failed to understand why they're even in a relationship. And that's a pretty key thing to have in this movie, this relationship between Lois and Clark, because it's massive in all of Superman canon. And yes, it wasn't really all that great in Zack Snyder's version of the DC universe, but I don't think this does it really any better. I think both the visual effects and cinematography were absolutely abhorrent. I think they're borderline disgusting. They look unfinished. A lot of the time they suck. As I said, I gave some praise to Crypto CGI because I do think he looks good and the way that that's rendered looks great. but the lighting and camera work combined with these shoddy visual effects gives this a very cheap look that The Flash had, and I think as time progresses, this film is only going to look uglier and uglier as we move forward, because Jesus Christ, there are some moments where I just couldn't even look at the screen. It just looks so ugly at times. And going into that look that The Flash had, it kind of makes sense because both these movies share the same cinematographer. And dude, you have to change the style because it looks ugly. It doesn't look good at all, and I don't know why you're doubling down on it with this movie. This film is constantly forcing this stupid Marvel humor down your throat. It's something that I've grown so tired of because we've been hearing the same fucking lame jokes for 15 years now, and we're getting more of it here. I mean, come on, this is supposed to be a fresh new universe, James Gunn. Why are we doing the same shit that you were doing in Guardians of the Galaxy? This is supposed to be this step forward, doing something a little bit different, and we're getting the same fucking thing. It's so lame. It's not funny. There were so many moments where no one was laughing, and I wasn't laughing. Yes, it hits every now and again. As I said, Mr. Terrific, I think he really worked with some of the deadpan humor in this. But when we're going into just the quips and the lame jokes every single second, undercutting anything serious, how can I take this movie seriously? How can I take these characters seriously when it wants me to? When so much of the time it's undercutting that with unfunny, garbage level humor. The movie wants to move from theme to theme so quickly that it doesn't really take any time to marinate with any of them, and because of that, nothing sticks, and I feel nothing by the end of this movie. Sure, it goes into the hope thing in the third act of the movie, and I quite liked it, but I'm not feeling it to the point where I think this is like an all-time superhero scene or whatever that I think this movie is trying to go for at times, because it doesn't seem to care about it consistently. It's the same thing with other themes in this movie. There's one about misinformation, which could be kind of interesting the way that plays out in the superhero genre, but it forgets about it so quickly that it just becomes an afterthought by the end of the movie. And you know why that is? Because once again, it undercuts it with a lame joke that, I mean, it's a little bit funny, it gets a little bit of a chuckle out of you, but any sense of really going deep into something and having something that resonates with you like that, this movie just won't do at all. And then there's the universe building, which I thought was kind of lazy, as it just kind of half-ass introduces some characters who I don't think will be all that important in the future. The whole Justice Gang idea, I mean, I don't really like having it in this Superman movie yet. I really wish this was just a standalone Superman movie, and we can get all the Justice League and all those characters later on. Just focus on this pivotal character and getting him right. Focus on the character of Superman, rather than going to a Green Lantern played by Nathan Fillion, who almost once again feels like James Gunn is just trying to bring his buddies along for the ride. And I don't mind that with some directors. I like that a director like Martin Scorsese or Wes Anderson or Quentin Tarantino will bring in frequent cast members that are in many of their movies because they trust them and they did a good job in the past. I don't think James Gunn is at that level to really justify that. And to be honest, I just don't think it works here all that much, to be honest with you. And I think the Justice Gang was pretty lame, because at the end of the day, when DC is going into this tonal fashion and is going to make every single character kind of like this, they're all just going to be the same character with a different suit on, and that to me is just not interesting. There are incredibly outdated tropes in this too, like there being three, not one, not two, but three female characters which are portrayed as such thoughtless people. There's one at the Daily Planet, for example, that has her cleavage out in every single scene she's in. There's even a moment where the camera slowly pans over to her as she's bouncing up and down. And it's like, really, James Gunn? Like, we're doing this in 2025? Like, it just all came across a little bit pathetic. And I'm like, I don't need to see this in a Superman movie. It's just so lame. Look, overall, does Superman have some things to enjoy in it? Yes. I can sometimes see why a lot of people are really enjoying this movie. But to be honest, I am quite baffled by the high praise. I don't fully understand the praise behind it at all. I really love the character of Superman, and I'm all for a really positive, hopeful interpretation of the character as he should be. But this goes so far in the stupid direction with its silly humor, lame attempts at writing, weak characterization, where I just failed to take this seriously at all. I like this movie a whole lot more than something like The Flash, but I still really didn't like this movie. I don't really want to see it again. And for me, I personally don't recommend it, and that became so apparent when I saw a movie that I'm going to discuss in another review, probably my next video, the same day, and went, that is a very real movie. That is one that should always be talked about. But this, I just cannot get into this. I'm very skeptical about where the DC universe is going. And as a score, I'm going to give Superman a 2 out of 5. I honestly think this is a poor movie. I didn't like it. I feel like I'm raining on people's parade a little bit and being that one sad guy at a party. But, you know, like that, I guess that's how it is. I guess I'm getting old and nihilistic as I start to hit my 30s. Maybe that's what's happening. But Jesus Christ, I didn't enjoy this movie. I'm nervous about how some of DC's other characters are going to be portrayed in the future. I mean, the same director of The Flash is going to be directing a Batman movie in this universe. If this is going for the same shit, holy fuck, I am going to literally go insane. Like, that will kill me. Batman is like my guy, so if that just fucks it up, oh man, I don't know. That's just gonna kill me, but hopefully it doesn't come to that. But Jesus Christ, this is not a good start at all. But anyway, those are my thoughts towards Superman. If you've seen the movie, let me know what you think about it in the comments below. I know I'm probably going to get spammed with dislikes and negative comments, but that's a part of the game, I guess. If you want to have a serious conversation about the movie, a polite one at that, I'm willing to do that with you guys. I don't want to get into this toxic shit. I don't care at all, and I'm not going to entertain those kinds of conversations. So if you want to have a real conversation about the movie and you disagree healthily, happy to have that conversation with you guys. But anyway, let me know your thoughts. I'd love to hear them, and I hope you all have a great day. Remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.